It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live.
This 2,000-year-old wisdom will show you why your suffering might be the key to your fulfillment.
Today, we're going to be studying Stoic philosophy with How to Think Like a Roman Emperor by Donald Robertson. I'm Robert.
I'm Asher, and this is Learning to Live.
So, do you like suffering?
No,
What?
but after reading this book, I feel like my perspective is changing.
So, yeah, suffering, man. It's one of those things where it's like, you don't like it. It's not really that good.
No.
I think as a society, we've definitely become, we've always been a type of people to avoid suffering.
I think, just as biological creatures, right? There is this natural biological tendency to avoid suffering.
Right. It's like seek pleasure, avoid pain. But I think it could be boiled down even more to just avoid pain.
Right.
Is just the premise of being.
Right.
And I think we talked about this before a little bit, where it's like any type of sensation is like anything that you think you want to do is really to avoid pain. It's not really the opposite way. Everything that we do is to avoid pain. You know, if you're hungry, it's not like you really want to eat that food. You want to avoid
the discomfort of hunger. Yeah.
So interesting stuff. Now this, I think, crops up in a lot of ways that we don't really identify as suffering. Given that example, like you wouldn't consider hunger. I mean, I guess you'd consider hunger as suffering, but boredom, anxiety, like an existential angst, rejection, or like uncertainty. These are all ways that we actually suffer, that, or at least are perceived pain points that we experience, that we all try to avoid in various ways that ultimately a lot of times end up doing more harm than good.
Yeah. There's this tension that exists in life of avoiding suffering and avoiding discomfort. But then there's also this underlying feeling that without the suffering, without the bad, we don't have the good. And we don't have the things that have real meaning in life.
Yeah.
And it's this confrontation with that tension that this book and this concept that we're diving into of Stoicism is really focused on.
So yeah, enter Stoicism. Now, Stoicism is a philosophy, but I would say that in today's world, it's mostly like this kind of practical type of philosophy, which historically it was like a bigger brand of philosophy that had a lot of the other things like ethics and metaphysics and meaning in the creation, why we're here, that sort of thing. But what's really stuck around has been this kind of practical wisdom for living the good life.
Right.
And this book basically is this nice synthesis of some of the main sources, which are Marcus Aurelius Meditations, Epicurus Discourses and Handbook, and then Seneca Letters from a Stoic. Those are like the three kind of remaining books that are the really, the first ones you should get. But instead of reading all those, because they're all kind of scattered like in the wisdom, this one really boils it down into some nice concepts and gives them stories following Marcus Aurelius' life, who is, if you don't know, one of the great Roman emperors who actually was decent guy and didn't just murder
everybody.
To
find one of those.
Right. They're few and far between. And so that really, I think, says something about this philosophy. Is like, if you were able to put someone who's traditionally a terrible role and they're actually a good dude, then hey, maybe there's something
there's something there. Yeah, and like you said, the emphasis of Stoicism is on doing. And A, that makes it unique, but B, it makes it very appealing because, there's a lot of philosophy that kind of fits in this realm of like just intellectual fluff. Like it feels good to think about big thoughts and have interesting conversations, but this is, how do you live a virtuous life? Right.
And there's so much to be said that's this hidden missing piece with just this virtuous fluff of like, when you hear something really profound or like a really good way of putting things, or, when we talk about the Michael Singer series or any of those other philosophies, it's like, yes, it's like, wow, that's really changes my perspective for like a day.
Yeah.
or something. You know, human beings it doesn't just switch. You're not just there unless something like extremely profound happens. But that's like so rare, or you're in a very drastic environment where you were just like teed up for it. Now, Stoicism is, very much about the actual implementation and practice of instilling these types of values in your life, which, very appealing. And I know this has been a very appealing thing for a lot of people. I would say a lot of younger dudes out there have been very drawn to Stoic philosophy.
Yeah, because it embraces hardship and it embraces like this North Star of virtue. And it has banger quotes. It's got just like...
They were saying some amazing things right there.
I don't know because they're translated, right? So I don't know if they were back in the day hitting as hard as they hit today.
Or the translators just deserve some insane credit.
Right, that they're not getting. But some crazy quotes by people with dope names, like Marcus Aurelius. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, Seneca.
Yeah, that's insane.
Like, phenomenal names and phenomenal quotes. And I almost think that they might have had more banger quotes back in the day, because there's a lot of words that we don't fully grasp in the English language that were like either Greek words or even Latin words that we don't fully have fleshed
like you
out.
probably lost some of the power behind some of these quotes. So enough talking about how great these quotes are.
Yeah.
Let's just get into it.
All right. So first quote, this is a Marcus Aurelius one that is referenced in the book as well. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. This really embraces the idea of Stoicism, which is stop yapping, start being. So let's start yapping.
Right, let's argue about what a good man should be. I mean, and obviously we read this out of a book, which is 200 pages talking about what a good man should be. But it's just this core idea of what we've already said, which is there's only so much utility in just talking about how you should act. At the end of the day, when the buck stops, it's what are you actually doing? How are you living your life?
Yeah.
And it fits with how we're trying to design this podcast, which is around changes that we're making in our lives and tracking the progress we're making about how we're actually living.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it really emphasizes that point of like, we need to start out with, you need to define what it is and you need to have some understanding, but a lot of that's kind of natural. And we honestly have really gone overboard when it comes to defining what a good man should be. There's so many, or a good person should be. There's so much out there that it's like, we are just kind of losing the point at some point, and we just need to be instead of just talk about it. And now Stoicism is interesting because there was teachers and schools that you would learn these things, but it's not just about the learning, it's about the doing as well, like on top of it. Yeah. So it's like you need that constant reminder and the constant application and practice. But a lot of the practice is just how you go throughout your life. Every moment and every decision that you come across is an opportunity.
So, according to Stoicism, what is the virtuous life?
Yeah, so the Stoics, they basically have these 4 virtues with corresponding vices, and then just everything else, which is this kind of, there is some preferred and dispreferred, but that's all they are. They're not inherently good or bad. Right. So like the quality of your life should not depend on those things. Right. So the virtues, we have courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance. So basically, we know what those things mean, basically. Yeah. I think temperance is more of like moderation and something like that. And now the vices, shockingly, we have cowardice, foolishness, injustice, and intemperance.
Right. So, you could get there. Right. Now, like you said, everything else, health or wealth or, pleasure, whatever it is, there you can prefer. There's nothing wrong with
you'd rather not be in a plague where everyone around you is dying.
Right. You're allowed to prefer that. Right. We'll let that slide. But it's not like a core virtue.
Yeah, those are the things that shouldn't make you upset or make you allow yourself to be upset longer than is, I guess, necessary.
Yeah, and so going back to this quote of, stop wasting your time trying to figure out what's good and bad and just be a good person. It's important to note that Stoicism still has a strong emphasis on reflection and this like self-critique and self-wisdom. Obviously, wisdom being one of the core values. But the idea is you have these core values and you spend your reflection on, am I living my life in this way? Every day you reflect, did the actions I take, no matter how big, no matter how small, move me closer to these virtuous goalposts or further away?
Right. Yeah, pretty simple. And another really interesting thing in Stoicism that we might be getting more into later is this idea that while you have these preferred and dispreferred things, it's not that when they shouldn't make you upset. What I mean when I say that is that they're not like, you can't have a negative reaction to it initially. Like if you stub your toe, like that hurts. That's okay to be hurt by it. It's just, it's not okay to then afterwards like complain about it and go to your friends, be like, oh, my toe is stubbed. It's the end of the world. And in the book, he calls this catastrophizing, which is basically blowing everything out of proportion. And at some point, either the pain would have naturally abated if you had just ignored it, which there's maybe our first story that we can read out from the book about this.
Yeah. This is from writings from Dubois, who was a psychotherapist who was very inspired by Stoicism. A young man into whom I tried to instill a few principles of Stoicism towards ailments stopped me at the first words, saying, "I understand, doctor, let me show you." And taking a pencil, he drew a large black spot on a piece of paper. "This," said he, "is the disease in its most general sense, the physical trouble, rheumatism, toothache, what you will, moral trouble, sadness, discouragement, melancholy. If I acknowledge it by fixing my attention upon it, I already trace a circle to the periphery of the black spot, and it has become larger. If I affirm it with acerbity, the spot is increased by a new circle. There I am, busied with my pain, hunting for means to get rid of it, and the spot only becomes larger. If I preoccupy myself with it, if I fear the consequences, if I see the future gloomily, I have doubled or trebled the original spot." And showing me the central point of the circle, the trouble reduced to its simplest expression, he said with a smile, "Should I not have done better to leave it as it was?" "One exaggerates, imagines, anticipates affliction," wrote Seneca. "For a long time I have told my discouraged patients and have repeated to myself, do not let us build a second story to our sorrow by being sorry for our sorrow."
You know, I bet most doctors wish their patients would stop them at the first word and say, "I understand.
I understand it now, doctor."
Like, did this actually ever happen?
Right. That I don't know.
But the point is there, and it's a good point.
Yeah, and they bring up this idea in Stoicism of first impressions and second impressions, where the first impression is the experience we have. It is the pain, it is the fear, it is the worry or the anxiety. But then there is the second level emotions, the reaction to the pain, the reaction to the fear. And while we don't control the first impression, we do control the second impression. And most people don't think they control the second impression, they spiral. But that is the opportunity where you can gain control of a situation and change your perspective and then change your reality.
Yeah. And now, free will aside, right? This is about one of those things where it's like we control our reactions through basically surrounding ourselves in an environment that can cultivate that type of reaction. So for instance, if we're trying to react more positively to things that we would normally react very negatively to, a Stoic practice of reflection and journaling almost, or just meditation, those are things that will prepare your mind better to react more positively in those types of situations. So it's not necessarily like this, oh, you should just be more positive all the time. It's like you have to practice it intentionally, which is really, really nice to actually read that.
Yeah, and this book follows the life of Marcus Aurelius. And it demonstrates how he wasn't born like this.
Yeah.
And it was the curation of his being that by the end of his life, when he was faced with hardship, his instinctual reaction had changed. He had changed how he reacted to hardship in the moment. But that came through daily practice and daily reflection and daily intention.
Right. So this like reaction, I guess, if you're having the negative reaction, that's where the Stoics say suffering really is this not necessarily our initial reaction, which we cannot control, but the secondary reaction, which we can control. And now this is a very interesting point. Just coming back to some of the Michael Singer stuff, where he really says that our thoughts and our judgments is what creates suffering. So suffering on a deeper level of, it's not like a physical pain. It's more of this moral, emotional ache of being non-virtuous.
Yeah.
And that is what suffering really is.
Yeah, it's strikingly similar to the Michael Singer books, which, like you said, the whole idea is, and Michael Singer focuses more on suffering being expectation not aligning with reality.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of another way of saying the same thing, which is we have this judgment of how things should be, and the gap between that judgment or that expectation and our reality is what causes us so much inward pain.
Yeah, and like the catastrophizing of events.
Yeah. And so this brings us to actually an interesting point on suffering, which is it actually the opportunity to live a virtuous life? Can you do so without suffering?
Right.
Or is it actually something we need to value and embrace?
Yeah, and this is something I've really thought about. It's like, how can you be good without having something bad, right? Like, how can you prove yourself almost? And do we even really need to have to be able to prove ourselves? You know, to some people you'd say yes. Like, in order to be a strong person, you need to be faced with something to push.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's not like you just walk around and someone's like, wow, if you look strong, maybe that's a bad example, because if you look really strong, you're like, wow, that guy's strong.
Right.
But like powerlifters know, you know, like there's some skinny dudes out there.
Well, also, they would have never gotten the muscles or the strength
exactly.
if they didn't have something to struggle against.
Right, exactly. And so even if you have these like virtues, if you're not put in a situation that's going to give you the opportunity to do the opposite and you take that route, then yeah, that's definitely, I think, something that's necessary. Now, one could say that you might be able to have happiness without unhappiness or without those events. It's maybe more of a perception thing. I don't know.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I think for me, when I think about fulfillment and meaning, I often think about gratitude. I think like deep fulfillment is tied to constant gratitude for what you have. And when I think about what gratitude is mechanistically, it's often the acknowledgement of what life could be like if you had the opposite. So it's like, oh, I'm grateful for my health because I can imagine what it would be like to be sick.
Right.
Or I'm grateful for my friends because I can imagine what it would be like if they died and I lost them.
Yeah.
And so that knowledge that creates the gratitude only exists in a world where the negatives do exist.
Yeah.
And it is this no light without the dark idea.
Right. No, that's a good point. And that brings me to yet another perfect banger quote.
All right, bring it on.
The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. And that was a Marcus Aurelius banger.
This guy was just really spitting,
He's
dude.
just there like just cooking.
I wonder if he knew it at the time. Like,
Right.
if he wrote something, he was like,
Yeah, but you can't get too excited about
right,
it. you know,
right. And then
gotta
he's just like, that was my initial reaction.
right.
Right. But yeah, it is like,
I would just be going around just, guys, look at this.
yeah.
That's what I just came up with.
Yeah. And,
How long does the initial reaction? That was the initial reaction.
He's like, I'm still in my initial reaction. Yeah, that seems like a bit of
It's
a
still
cop
happening
out.
right now. It's still happening.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal quote. And it is this idea of without obstacle, without challenge, we are not given the opportunity
Yeah.
to exercise actions that are meaningful and are fulfilling.
Yeah. No, and there's plenty of examples of this. The one with the gym that we were just giving. And also, if you think about the Michael Singer like surrender experiment, he basically said, I'm going to do what life throws my way. And what people would consider obstacles, whether how severe it is, if it's someone asking you to do something that you didn't really want to do, that is an obstacle. That is something that is preventing you from doing what you want to do. But he embraced that.
Yeah.
And whenever you embraced the obstacle, it led to so much of a better life for him and for everyone else around him. So
Yeah.
very similar. Ugh.
Yeah. The parallels are crazy. And it's such a resonant idea because if you think about the things in your life that you're most proud of and the things that you most want, how closely tied are they to what you had to sacrifice or how much work you had to put in to get that thing, right? If, the person who like runs a 7-minute mile, but they just were a natural runner and it's probably not a big deal to them. The person who couldn't run at all and got off the couch one day and after months of training, like ran their first 5K or whatever, that's like, wow, that means so much more.
Yeah, no, it really does. And it is this interesting idea that I think has been plaguing society with our progression in technology and medicine and all these things. Now, I think medicine's probably one of those that we should keep around.
right.
I think
we're not saying we all have to die like when they did back in Greece.
Right. But I think there's something to be said about almost with the good energy of like the chronic versus the acute remedies for things. Now, we should treat acute symptoms of like our pain and being, but be more or less indifferent to some of what we might consider the more chronic things going on in life. So I know Epictetus, he was one of the most kind of nuts of the Stoics back there. And he was like, lived as a slave most of his life and was a cripple. And he was definitely the most savage one when it came to just the like Stoic indifferent type of reaction to things.
This indifference to his pain, because like you said, the difference between, and this gets into another really important point of Stoic acceptance, which is once you realize that something is beyond your control, then the only pain that is occurring is how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Because there's no changing it.
Yeah.
And so this chronic pain, right? There's something that is clearly there regardless of what you do about it. And this goes back to the idea of dwelling on your pain and making it worse. You're making it worse. And it's true. It's like, it's uncomfortable because sure, there's things that can go really wrong that are out of your control. And it's not easy in those moments to say, oh, I'm just going to be indifferent. Yeah. Obviously, it takes years of practice.
Yeah.
But it's true at the end of the day that you're just layering onto it if you can't change it.
Yeah, and I think one important thing to note about the Stoic acceptance is that you're not a doormat. You don't just let people walk all over you. You know, Marcus Aurelius, when he got betrayed, he's like, well, let's turn the troops around and go put this fire out.
Yeah, let's go put this to rest real quick.
Yeah, which is a savage story, by the way. That was insane. But the point is that, you can do actions. It's just knowing that it's like, okay, if I see something that I think is morally wrong going on, or if it's something in my life that I think I need to change, you can change it. It's just to not tie your self-worth and your fulfillment and your enjoyness to reaching that outcome. It's more of knowing that you're going to try your hardest and finding peace in that. And so, yes, you can try to change things. That's okay. But be happy with the fact that you're trying to change the things.
Right.
Not necessarily you have to achieve the outcome and then you can be happy, because then if you never achieve it, you're just going to wasted your life feeling miserable the whole time.
Yeah. And so we're discussing this idea of opportunity through suffering, and this being almost the thing we should embrace. This idea, and it can go to any one of these virtues that we discussed, and it's kind of the cliche, but there is no courage without fear, right? A courageous person is not someone who just does brave things and doesn't feel fear. A courageous person is somebody who feels fear and in spite of that acts.
Yes.
And this brings a question of, okay, then going into your daily life and how you actually operate in those moments of struggle, what do you do? Is it a mental reframe? Do you look for these moments of struggle?
Yeah, I think it's several approaches. Now, in the book, he talks a lot about this idea of almost imagine what would Marcus do? What would if you had a room, if you're in a room full of these Stoic teachers, what would they coach you on? Yeah. And that's a good way to kind of engage a little bit of that stepping back from it. It's like whenever you first feel pain, instead of then experiencing, oh, the pain, oh, this is bad, oh, this is that, to then experience the pain, then be like, what would this other person say? And that kind of gives you a little bit of distance. It will already help to make it feel a little better. And then even what would they say, right? So a lot of the strategies that Marcus Aurelius talks about is this idea of breaking down and playing out the situation. So it's like if you're faced with temptation of someone puts a really nice looking donut in front of you. This is where I realize I'm not yet a Stoic, but I'm just saying that theoretically someone puts a nice donut down and then, Marcus would say in that situation, analyze what's going on. It's like, okay, your body, your stomach is sending signals to your brain or your brain to your stomach or whatever, how, anatomy stuff. Yeah. And you're basically seeing something that's triggering these pathways in your mind. That's like the circuitry that's seeing this little fried like oil and dough and all of this like rocks from the earth and all just kind of really breaking things down into their parts. Little master and his emissary stuff going on here. And
it's an interesting connection we'll get into.
Yeah. So kind of dismantling and disassembling situations to take the life out of them intentionally. The master and his emissary. So it's like basically intentionally doing that in order to disrupt bad habits and to make them more lifeless. And if we're saying a little more left hemispheric, a little more optimistic, maybe. Right. So that is something they'd say. And then also just the daily life of seeking discomfort prepares you for those situations. So they would say, take cold showers or sleep on the floor or whatever. They have a lot of really stupid and annoying ways to make your life intentionally hard to just give yourself practice and experience to be in those situations.
Right. It's like going to the mental gym of reframing difficult situations. Yeah. And, this also connects back to the Michael Singer trilogy of the low-hanging fruit idea, which is our lives are filled with little things that bother us. Yeah. And each one of these Michael Singer presents is an opportunity. Yeah. Is a moment where you can reframe. Yeah. Where you can notice how you initially reacted and then use any mental technique you want to change your perspective on the situation. And by doing so, you are building the muscle of reframing and not listening to that initial impression. And through that, you can theoretically do that on a bigger and bigger scale with harder and harder challenges.
Yeah, it's very interesting, the correlations here, because I feel that with these books, there's these ideas of very similar on the sense of, you're not your thoughts, you're not what's around you. You have to understand what is and isn't in your control. You have to not feel based on your judgments to understand what you are. It's just a little different of, I guess, the underlying code here. It's like on the Michael Singer, it's like you're releasing your samskaras so your energy can flow through you better as you're in your seat of awareness. Right. And for the Stoics, it's more about just this kind of virtuous, and there's some, religious sense here baked into some of this stuff. But again, not so much on the energy centers type of thing. But it's the same.
It's the same thing.
Idea. Yeah, it's the same thing.
They're speaking like two different languages of the same idea. Right. Like it's so interesting because, first of all, they originated out of drastically different environments. Right. When you read this book and you hear these stories, and some of them are probably exaggerated, but of like what it would be like to live in Rome at this time. It's like you're just going around, like you might just like die. Like there's just a war everywhere and plagues and like
assassinations and politics and drinking and everything's everywhere.
All of it. It's everywhere.
All of it.
And it's insane. And Michael Singer, it's all about love and like you said, opening the heart chakra. And it's like the types of people this would attract are very different. Yeah. It's theoretically. I mean, obviously it's we've been attracted to both ideas, but you get kind of like this tough, I'm going to fight through the pain. I'm going to like have a strong mindset in one. And then you have almost like the hippie spirituality in another. And yet it's the same ideas. Yeah. It's really fascinating. I think of the opposite ends of the spectrum here. Like you're saying, you have the hippie and like the minivan with the beans or whatever. And you have the dude who's like doing 100-mile races through snowy mountains just to like get that mental strength there. And it's almost, it's very similar. At the end of the day, it's like realizing you're not your thoughts. Yeah. And preparing yourself for inevitable
unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah.
And just accepting and being okay with being in just drastically different ways.
Yeah.
Now, one way seems like it has a lot less pain involved in it.
Right.
But also,
Right.
you know, I think the Stoicism came out of a world of pain that these people were living in. And so they had to really adapt to that, you know?
Right. And, you know, there's one blatant common link is the practice of meditation.
Yeah.
And the practice of reflection and sitting and self-critique. And obviously there's differences in how they go about meditation. But through that, there's also this lens of meditation as like this discomfort. Like we've both experienced as we've done these meditation challenges. It doesn't take long before you're sitting and you start to feel extreme discomfort. You want to get up, your mind's racing. It's not fun to be in your mind when it's racing.
Right.
And that in itself is a practice of letting go and releasing the discomfort and trying to just accept like the state you're in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool how much overlap these two drastically different seeming philosophies have. And I like the Stoicism because it really emphasizes like moderation and that it's okay to play and have fun and that you should want to do things and that's okay. It's just understanding when there's like a line and when you're too far gone and it's an indulgence instead of a positive thing. It's like analyzing actions and events on, is this whole thing going to be a net positive or a net negative? And so even if it's a lot of initial pleasure, it might really have consequences. Like drink a lot, it's fun, bad hangover. Sometimes it's drink a lot, have a little bit of fun, then you make a lot of stupid decisions, then you have hangover and guilt plus a lot of burned bridges. Or it's like, okay, so that's a net negative thing, so we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But it's like going out and hanging out with friends and playing games, like or playing a sport. You know, that's fun. And, you got stronger and smarter and better. So, like, yes, definitely do that. Like, it's not just do nothing all the time, which I'm not saying they do that in Michael Singer, but he spent a lot of time sitting down in the woods, you know.
Right.
Which is
Right.
appealing to some, but.
Yeah. I mean, it's sounds like its own brutal challenge in some ways.
Right. It is.
Yeah. But.
Too brutal.
Right. That might be harder for you than doing like some physical challenge.
It would be.
What is interesting, because we also just wrapped up, and we've hinted at this already, but we've wrapped up this series on the Master and his Emissary. And for the uninitiated, the Master and his Emissary is this dissection of the asymmetry of the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere and how they approach the world differently. And the whole...
Of the brain.
Yeah, sure. I guess
just in case that wasn't
other
clear.
Hemispheres.
Yeah, just in case that wasn't clear.
Right. No, good clarification. And the idea is the right hemisphere is the master. It understands the whole, and it has this deeper context. But the left hemisphere breaks things into parts, likes control, likes like categorization, and believes it's smart enough to take control. And it's beginning to usurp the master. And this is his argument of why society is trending in the way it's trending, in the West specifically.
Yeah.
And what we were touching on is Stoicism seems to straddle this line because on the one hand, it's kind of about, not buying into your thoughts, not buying into the language, not trying to control things or comment on things. Very right hemispheric. But on the other hand, it uses these techniques of deep categorization, depersonalization, which is like taking the life out of things, which is left hemispheric, to avoid buying into like temptation.
Yeah, it's this really awesome thing that I've been able to when I read this, it's almost more evidence that I'm like, wow, they're like nailing this right now. Like, no wonder this has worked so well because it seems like it's using the different parts when they're needed. So it's like, enjoying the whole when it's important, but a lot of times the right, just because it's the broader, more perspective-based hemisphere does not mean that it's always right. And so it has a lot of flaws, especially when it comes to just the brain. I mean, the brain in general works in a obviously very interconnected, complicated way.
Right.
But when it comes to, like indulgences, like these things can get baked into your brain. But then, using the left hemisphere as a tool to basically deconstruct it. So it's using each side's tools when they're the most important, which is really cool to have seen this in this book.
Yeah, it's so cool to see how these things all weave together.
Yeah.
And we're talking about this embracing of struggle and this embracing of suffering and this releasing of our first impressions and how to kind of reframe everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it gets into this tricky camp of, in that process, are we just practicing emotional suppression?
Right.
Is the Stoic taking not just like not processing emotions and kind of refusing to engage with things that might be healthy or might be really unhealthy if you take this to the extreme?
Mm-hmm.
And are there these downsides and these watch outs that we need to have?
Yeah, no, that's a valid question, because it does seem that when we basically have some anger or some stress or whatever, and then we don't, I guess, solve the problem that emotion is presenting us, that it seems like we're doing emotional suppression. And I would say that I think Stoicism tries to not to say that you should still experience the emotion in a way that is very similar to when we did our Michael Singer research and our meditation research. This idea that whenever you are aware of the emotion, can kind of like witness it and watch it, it'll just kind of like naturally abate, and then it's over, it's done. And now I think the problem could be if you decide to let that turn you into the doormat where everyone just walks all over you and you're like, oh, it's fine. And so I think what the Stoicism, at least in this book, didn't really touch on is the need for like strategy, and that you need to be tact and intentional when it comes to your life. So do not let this, like the emotions and the suffering, be needless. Be intentional. So for instance, you would say that you would rather do something that you'd prefer than disprefer. And so if you're in a situation where you got to do work where you dig a hole and then just refill the hole and then dig the hole again and just do that nonstop, that's not equal to then like the work that it would take to carry a bunch of food across country to feed a starving village. Like there's like types of work that you need to be strategic when you're deciding in your life. Now, those are two very obvious choices, but a lot of times in life, when we get into that frame of thinking where it's like, oh, I should just accept what's in front of me and not really be aspirational or just hunker down and just do what's there, that can be a little bit of a trap. And I think Stoicism, and we had this concern with the Michael Singer philosophy of, yes, it allows you to be content doing what you're doing, but you should strive to do more. You should strive to do what's the maximum best thing that you can be doing for yourself and others in line with your virtues.
Right. And it also gets this, on the flip side of being a doormat, there's this idea, I think, that a lot of people associate with Stoicism of, I'm just not going to feel anything. Like I'm not going to feel sad. I'm tougher than that.
Right.
And this again seemingly misses the point.
Right.
Because something that the book talks about for Marcus Aurelius is he often felt grief.
Yeah, he'd cry all the time.
He would cry. He would, just sobbing all over,
crying all over the place.
And he would deeply feel emotion and see the value of emotion. Mm-hmm. But it's the dwelling,
right, and the complaining,
It's amplifying the emotion.
Yeah,
that is unnecessary.
Right.
Feeling the emotion is not a problem. Blowing it up and making it become bigger is the issue. But if you're just going to say, I'm not going to feel the emotion in the first place, which you can kind of get how you get there, because there's some aspects of it that make it feel like there's this story about Epictetus getting his like leg broken and he just like nothing.
Yeah, he's like, the guy's like twisting his legs, like, if you do that, it's going to break. He just snaps.
Told you.
It's like, what?
Like, okay, hold on. Like, let's be real. Like, no one's experiencing their leg getting broken like that.
Right.
So I think even within people who think they have an understanding of Stoicism, I think there is some conflation of like, there's some attractiveness of I'm tougher than the emotions.
Yeah.
And I think that's a slippery slope that you don't, and that's a really tough thing to balance.
Right, especially because a lot of that is just based on your internal dialogue.
Right.
So instead of reframing things, and actually this is another interesting point of Stoicism that Marcus Aurelius talks about, which is this idea that a lot of times when we don't engage in bad behaviors, it can often be because of another like vice. So like oftentimes we don't commit a crime because we don't want to get caught, or not often, but you know, for sometimes it's like the fear of the consequence instead of not committing a crime because I would rather not commit the crime and be kind to others and not steal. Like, so aligning yourself with the virtues more. And what that would say is instead of in those situations, like training your brain to instead of like, I'm going to tough this out. Like, no, that's not a good thing. That's foolishness. You're being insensitive and you're not living in accordance with nature. And I don't think we've said living in accordance with nature once this episode, which is crazy because they talk about it all the time.
Right.
And so nature, like your initial emotions are natural. And so that's something that you should be okay with. And so that reframe in your mind of acceptance, but then also action. So, okay, I feel this way. And you could be, okay, I feel really upset that someone is treating me poorly. What I'm not going to do is complain needlessly about it. I'm going to figure out how to prevent that from happening again and deal with the situation accordingly once my upsetness has abated.
Sure.
However, we talk about all that, and I guess something that comes to my mind is like, is it possible to live the fulfilling life in that way? And now why I say this is given what we've learned from the Master and his Emissary and just from the Stoic toolkit of detaching yourself from the situation. When I think about constantly needing to be rational and to judge, is this the right thing to do? Am I acting in accordance with my virtues? It seems like I'm just taking a step back from my own life and my own experiences. And so therefore, how can I feel fulfillment if I'm constantly going through that process in my mind? So I don't know. Do you think this is a problem, an inherent problem of Stoicism, or is this something that's just...
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think regardless of what the mental process is, we constantly have mental scripts running in our mind. And just more often than not, we're not the ones programming it, right? And to me, Stoicism is about changing the programming of the scripts that we're running when we're confronted with the situation. Because like Michael Singer says, if you step back and you observe your mind, it's running all the time. It's commenting on everything. It is judging everything. It is trying to, make you feel better or make you feel worse or whatever. It's going nonstop. And so to me, Stoicism is about stepping back from the automatic thoughts that are happening and focusing on, okay, how can I just change? How can I keep the practice going so that my automatic thoughts change to a more intentional version of how I want to see the world? And so while I do think when you're starting a practice like this, it can be very consuming and difficult. The idea is that you're shifting the automatic thought process.
Yeah. It's like the Michael Singer when he talks about the choose happiness or change that intentional thoughts, not the automatic thoughts.
Yeah.
And then over time, theoretically, it would hopefully become, automatic and it gets baked into your being. I mean, you think most people, all people were, products of our programming that's been developed over years and years, and we've had teachers and mentors and parents, and
friends,
people, friends who have constantly been shaping our reality and with reinforcement, and so we have to do a lot of that ourselves. And it's going to be a little uncomfy at first, especially if you're having to do it alone and in your own mind. But setting that script up. Yeah.
But I will say, and you mentioned this earlier, that the book talks about this idea of imagine how you would act if you were in the room with these famous Stoics, or what guidance would they give you, or how would they act in the similar situation? And me personally, when I'm reading this book and minor inconveniences are coming up in my life, I do notice that it's easier to stop and say, do I really want to let this bother me right now? And the more you can practice that, and a big emphasis on Stoicism is at, the beginning of the day, and especially at the end of the day, reflecting and setting intentions to be virtuous. So I think it's almost like, there's programming that happens in the moment, but then there's also like, if you can dedicate parts of your day to set overarching intentions, a lot of it kind of starts to seep in because you're kind of setting the course for the day and reflecting on what you want to do differently the next day. Yeah,
it's almost like you have set times to deal with it and to detach a little bit and analyze. So so it's just like this. It's so nice, man. It's so nice, and I feel like it's cool because the meditation stuff and the spirituality, it's a really fascinating philosophy. But then I guess it's not so appealing seeing the people who do it, or more like the lifestyle surrounding it, to the more regular person who wants to still have things and goals that are just detached from God, and more of a human material. I think that Stoicism is appealing on that end, because it's 100%. Definitely, when you think about the Roman soldiers who are or the soldier Stoics versus,
it's very independent of of a prescriptive life style.
Yes,
it can be, you can be an emperor, right, or you can be the everyday person. And I think we both felt reading this that it's, at the end of the day, it's kind of just like a bunch of massive perspective shifts. And right now we're in the process of trying to do something that's taking up a lot of our time, which is this podcast. And it's challenging. And obviously, everyone has their own challenges, and this is a challenge we're choosing. But it's easy. Something that I think causes us to lose a lot of motivation, and I'm sure many people have experienced this, is repeated difficulty and just feeling like, how am I ever going to stop this difficulty from happening? I don't see the end sight in the suffering, in the struggle of it all. And this is kind of there is no end sight, but there won't be, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And if you can embrace it and view it as the opportunity given where you're at, to me, it's it brings a lot of light in, because it's not where do I see the light at the end of the tunnel? It's the tunnel can just be the light.
Right. Instead of focusing on the struggle as this is a struggle, saying this is the time, this is the opportunity, this is what's going to get me there. And to also see the positives of it, the actual outcomes and what you are trying to do, and staying focused on your goals and your intentions, and being a good person and helping others, and being able to just stick with that instead of the complaining. It's a monumental shift, and it goes to show that most events, and we've talked about this so much, that events are not inherently good or bad, right? Something can happen to you, you get slapped in the face and you could be really upset about it. You could be slapped in the face and be like, that was a weak slap.
Yeah.
You could be slapped in the face and like it if you're weird. I don't know.
Right. And I mean, I think about weather all the time because it's an easy example for me, because it's abundantly clear that there is no malice behind the rain. It's just the natural weather that you have zero control over, and yet people take so much gripe with when the weather is not the way they want it to be.
Right. When other people might be like, thank goodness it's finally raining.
Right. We've been in a drought. I've been needing this. It's all perspective.
Yeah.
And with the weather example, and also with, I'm sure people have people in their lives that are very negative.
Right.
And at the end of the day, complaining is really tiring.
Yeah.
It just kind of sucks the life out of your day.
Yeah.
And
out of others' days.
And out of it's like this black hole that it brings everybody in. Yeah. Right?
It's a way less cool version of a black hole.
It's a sad black hole. And I think about this because there's been periods of working on difficult things where you start to complain more. It's like, oh, I don't have time, I'm tired. And it just spirals.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of have to snap out of it. And that's what I think reading this book has helped us do a little.
Mm-hmm.
Because you realize, like, man, I thought I was just commenting on the situation, but I was drastically augmenting the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I didn't even realize it.
Blowing it out of proportion. And
Yeah.
it's been funny to see when reading this book and when reading the Michael Singer books, just how much different life felt when you're going throughout. It's like, oh, nothing really bothers you anymore. And you said something interesting about the others and that you could have other negative people in your life. And this brings us to another Stoic point, which is the acceptance of others and understanding that most people don't think that they're doing the wrong thing or don't want to do the wrong thing.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a great epic story. Another Marcus Aurelius, just like, okay, we get it. He's a Roman emperor.
Right.
Like, no one lives like this anymore. But we'll set the scene by talking later in Marcus Aurelius's life. There's this general named Cassius.
Yeah. Can we go back to like having Roman names?
I want a name like that.
Like Cassius.
Like, imagine you were just walking around.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, my name is Cassius.
Yeah, I'm the general of the
What's
legions.
your name, Jeff? It's like, you know? And no offense to any Jeffs out there,
Yeah.
but like, you don't stack up to Cassius.
Cassius is tough.
And basically he's like this crazy general, and he starts this civil war where he makes this claim to the throne.
Right. Which I
The
think
fact this is real.
right. I know if you've learning about this stuff and like having watched Game of Thrones, I'm like, okay, so they just got the script from Roman
Right.
history. Like
Right.
this is nothing new.
It's wild.
And yeah, so they, we'll say that he maybe thought that Marcus was dead. He was like sick for a little while and there's some rumors. So maybe we'll give him the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah. So when Marcus finds out about this impending civil war, and he meditates on this idea that at least he believes Cassius is still operating from this standpoint of doing what he must think is the right thing to do. It comes time to address the troops.
Yeah.
And this is the rallying war cry that he gives. To forgive a man who has done wrong, to be still a friend to one who has trodden friendship underfoot, to continue being faithful to one who has broken faith. What I say may perhaps seem incredible to you, but you must not doubt it. For surely all goodness has not yet entirely perished from among men, but there is still in us a remnant of the ancient virtue. However, if anyone should disbelieve it, that merely strengthens my desire, in order that men may see accomplished with their own eyes what no one would have believed come to pass. For this would be the one profit I could gain from my present troubles, if I were able to bring the matter to an honorable conclusion and show all the world that there is a right way to deal even with civil war. It's like this incredible response of like, it's not like pacifism, because he then marches with his soldiers to put this to rest.
Yeah.
But it is this temperance, this I am not going to just become angry and just lash out and just spiral this situation. I'm going to view
Like
it purely.
kill everyone in
Right.
his family. And
He's like, I'm going to
friends.
try and just deal with it,
Yeah.
stop the civil war, and that's where it ends.
Yeah.
Not vengeance,
Yeah.
not hate.
No, and it's phenomenal work, and honestly, it goes to show as a Roman emperor or just as a person. Let's say if you're a kind and forgiving person, your enemies' heads will be brought to you in bags.
Right, because that is how this civil war ends.
Literally, Cassius' own troops betray him, cut off his head, and bring it to Marcus to like.
Who
be
is
like,
not pleased.
No, he's not happy. He says, "I don't want to see it."
Yeah.
Which is, it's just honestly crazy work that's how that ended. It really shouts to his character as far as he's this kind of frail old guy, and they're like, we want him, not this like brutish leader.
Yeah.
So,
and this idea of dealing with other people and having your own, like, you control not what they do, but the story you tell yourself about what they do. Our tendency is to see somebody act in a certain way and paint and just go down the rabbit hole of, oh, maybe they don't like me. Maybe, and there's this quote that we attribute so much more to malice when in reality it's incompetence. Mm-hmm. And the idea being that somebody probably just doesn't understand what they're doing. Yeah. They don't understand the impact they're having. And we think of it as like they're out to get us.
Yeah. And that brings us to maybe yet another banger Stoic quote. And this one, I think, is one of the more famous ones. And this is Seneca when he says, "We often suffer more in imagination than reality." And now this is like the all-encompassing quote of this entire episode. And it goes to say, with spiraling out of control on thinking what others' intentions are, which is just the complete madman's guessing game, or thinking about how, or catastrophizing minor inconveniences, or even major inconveniences. Like, we can still blow things way past what they're supposed to be. So really strong wisdom.
Yeah.
With that in mind, the last thing that we're going to cover in this episode is this big emphasis that Stoicism has on meditating death.
Yeah. And he ends this book with a chapter that is written from the perspective, it's his imagination of the thoughts that were going through Marcus Aurelius's mind as he passed away. Mm-hmm. And this meditation on death is this idea of embracing death as an idea and as a tool for perspective shift.
Yeah.
It's this acceptance. It goes back to the Stoic acceptance that we will die.
Right.
And that, he talks about it in Michael Singer too. Yeah. That it's like, that is the tool that gives life meaning.
Yeah.
The shortness of it. And if we are blind to that, and if we continuously just try not to think about it, then we will waste our time worrying about things that in the end won't matter.
Yeah.
And this last chapter is basically this idea of him reflecting on, how little the minor inconveniences matter. And when he zooms out and as conscious existence is ending, it's just like this vision of like the universe as a whole and this one conscious, and just like, it's all so small, the little things that are bothering you.
Yeah. No, it's insane. It's like the ultimate leverage. And the last chapter makes me feel like I'm just, it's like you're in a field at like, with the northern lights and like galaxies and stuff above you. And you're just like on your knees looking up, just like embracing the beyond of returning to the whole. And it's honestly,
that was poetry right there, man.
it's honestly an insane chapter that I was like, if I ever like know when I'm dying, I hope someone's reading that to me so I can go out on that note. But crazy stuff. And it really is, I think you said it's like death is the gift that gives life meaning.
Yeah. And I like what you said. I really like the word. It's like the ultimate leverage, because there is this false idea that I say we all, but most carry around with us that, okay, yeah, we'll die at some point. It'll be in 60, 70 years. Mm-hmm. It could be tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And it's uncomfortable to think about, but it's true. It's like anything could happen. It happens all the time. And how would you want to be living your life? What would bother you if you knew that you were about to die?
Right.
Nothing that's bothering you right now.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's for sure. And in this last chapter, he says like he's welcomed death repeatedly throughout his life. And so now that he's here, it's like, I've been ready for this moment because I've lived my life painfully aware that this was coming. And so it allowed me to take steps to know that when I got here, I would be satisfied with the life I lived.
Yeah, another pretty banger thing that they say in there in that last chapter, which this is, I'm pretty sure, just the author's word, so props to him. But he says something along the lines of, I've been dead for eons before my birth, and so why, and it didn't bother me then, so why will it bother me when I pass on after my actual death?
Yeah.
It's really perspective shift, to be honest, because when I think about back before I was alive, I wasn't bothered that much.
I would hope. I was bothered a little, but
it was kind of annoying.
Right. Like, can we get here already?
Like, well, still waiting, like, still. Are you kidding me? The elevator music is just...
It's like 13 billion years before I finally got on this planet. But I mean, it's true, and it's also this idea. We talked about how he mourns and how he feels emotions. It's not to say that it's like worship death as like, oh, it doesn't bother me,
or that nothing matters, or that I don't
right.
need to
It's
do
not
anything.
a nihilistic perspective. It's just like that is like it. It's just like we pretend that that's not around the corner, and because we pretend, we take so many actions that are counter to the life we actually want to live. And if we can accept and meditate on the fact that death could happen at any moment, then you are more likely to take actions that you'll feel proud of at the end of the day.
And so that might lead us to a little bit of the last. I said this was going to be the last thing, but we'll get into the real last thing, which is a little bit more of that practicality note. So it's like when death does give you that leverage to be, okay, what do I want to be like today? But we're not saying that nothing matters, because this isn't always about you. So it's like living that virtuous lifestyle is what you should be inspired to do when facing death. So to wrap up here, the practical advice, like what are some good takeaways for going forward for people who have listened to this episode?
Yeah. So the obvious is the embracing of suffering and discomfort, and voluntarily putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations, viewing them as the opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
And to loop it back to Michael Singer, it's like use the low-hanging fruit in your life. Use the minor inconveniences to practice the mental reshift. Because to me, the biggest takeaway is this is not just a mantra that you read one time. This is a practice of repeated intention. And on that note, use pick a time in your day where you're actually reflecting on what to you is a virtuous person and how did your actions align with that, so that you can be more intentional on a daily basis.
Yeah. And also another thing that you could do in that time set aside is intentionally visualize bad things happening. And that's almost like that kind of preparedness that you get from that. So if it's your death or maybe the death of others, it's kind of grim. It can get kind of dark, but like really playing it through and like working on that positive reinforcement within yourself to then be able to cope with those situations happening. It's not to make you more fearful or sad. The goal is to like cultivate gratitude. And then another piece of advice I would say that is a takeaway from this is to not, again, focus on the outcomes, focus on the virtue of it. So your intentions are what matter. And you should obviously be striving to achieve outcomes. So work on your strategy, work on the approach, but always keep that intention solid no matter what, because that's what matters most.
Yeah. And the last thing I would say is understand that so much of our suffering is due to our own infliction.
Invented.
It's invented.
Right,
it's the mind. And yes, there are, I'm sure, people living really difficult lives.
Yeah.
And it's not to downplay that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's a minimum amount of suffering you can have in those moments, and there is a maximum amount of suffering. And the gap is what you're choosing to inflict upon yourself.
Yeah.
Because reality only does so much.
Yeah. And Stoicism does have, Epictetus, one of those G's who's a slave getting his leg broken off while he's just sitting there watching it. So,
right.
And, there's Viktor Frankl, he comes way later, but I think he was kind of one of the pioneers of like the virtue ethics type lifestyle. And he had a rough go of it at, the Holocaust. So it's possible for people who've gone through some really tough stuff. And even think about the icky dude who just walked into the doctor's office after he went down, the doctor just said, "Oh, well, think about it the other way." And he's like, "Oh, I'm fixed."
Yeah.
Don't think about that guy. That guy, that's like a joke story. Yeah. Anyways, the point is it might be very hard for some people and very not so hard for others, but it's all about that intention.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to change, and that's not to say you can't take action to change things in your life, but you're not going to change the past, that's for sure. And there's certain things that you don't have control of. There are bad things coming. Your life won't be perfect. Yeah. And there's no way around that. The only way is how you actually deal with it.
Yeah. And one of the Stoic ideas is that the actions of others cannot dampen the virtue of your character, so therefore they are indifferent. So
I think they say nothing can stop you from trying to be virtuous.
Right. So that's basically, I think, the main takeaways from part 1 of Stoicism.
Yeah, because we feel that this is having a positive impact on our life, and we're really interested in exploring it and getting a strong understanding. And there are lots of good books out there, and we're kind of scratching the surface. So this will be a multi-part series that we're going to dive into and ideally build our own Stoic practice to see its impact on our own lives.
Yeah, when we were originally starting this was, again, one of those like, oh, is this more just like a philosophical thing? But then once we're reading, we're like, there's a lot of ways to implement this into challenges. So in the next episode, or maybe a couple of episodes, we'll really be building that out. So I'm really excited. So if you've liked the episode, give it a little bit of a like. Give it a little bit of a subscribe. Maybe share it to someone who you feel like could benefit from Stoicism. And if you're watching this and someone sent this to you,
maybe you could benefit.
Maybe you could benefit from some Stoicism.
Maybe you're that black hole of negativity in their life right now.
A sad little black hole.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out.
But thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.